Okay, picture this. The clock is ticking, your heart is absolutely pounding, and you get that familiar knot, the anxiety tightening in your stomach because you're feeling behind again, just rushing to make it to your next thing.
Yeah, or maybe you're on the other side of that. You're the one waiting, watching the minutes creep by, feeling that slow burn of frustration and, well, let's be honest, that undeniable sense of being disrespected.
I think we've all been there, haven't we? Caught in that cycle. Either the one always running late or the one, patiently or maybe not so patiently waiting.
It's such a common experience, right? But what if we told you that beyond just the obvious inconvenience, maybe the fleeting discomfort, chronic lateness might be costing you way more than just a few minutes?
More than just minutes. How so?
Well, research suggests a pretty significant chunk of the population, maybe up to 20%, consistently struggles with being on time. And the repercussions, they just ripple outward, impacting, well, everything. Your career path, your finances, even your mental health, and the very fabric of your closest relationships.
Wow, okay. So this isn't just about, setting your alarm a bit earlier.
Exactly. It's about a much deeper shift, really. A profound shift in how you see and interact with time itself, and as a result, how you interact with yourself and everyone around you.
That's a really powerful way to put it, and it definitely hits home. So today on the deep dive, we're not just going to scratch the surface here.
Yeah.
We're diving deep, really deep into the honestly fascinating world of punctuality. We want to look at it not just as, good manners or some kind of social rule, but as a crucial, foundational habit.
Yeah, one with really deep roots in our psychology, our mental health, and just our overall well-being, both personal and professional.
Right. And we've gathered a whole lot of insights for you. Everything from the latest research by productivity experts and clinical psychologists, all the way to those very real, sometimes raw experiences shared by people wrestling with this exact challenge.
So our mission today is to really unpack why. Why do so many of us struggle to be on time? We want to shine a light on those often hidden costs of being late all the time, costs that go way beyond just being a few minutes behind schedule.
And most importantly,
we want to equip you with actionable strategies and some hopefully profound insights. The goal is to help you build lasting habits for punctuality, making sure you respect not just your own precious time, but also the invaluable time of others.
think of this deep dive as maybe your shortcut. A way to understand all the complex things going on behind being on time, turning those aha moments, those flashes of self-awareness into practical steps you can take right away for real change.
Real lasting change, that's the aim.
Okay, so with that vivid picture painted of the consequences, it becomes crystal clear. Punctuality matters a lot, far beyond just being polite. So let's dive into just how deep those ripples go. Let's explore the personal, the relational, and the professional fallout from chronic lateness.
Let's do it, because it really does start with a very real, often quite intense personal toll. When you're chronically late, that immediate feeling is just frantic scrambling, isn't it?
Totally. You arrive all flustered.
Exactly. Flustered, maybe insecure, definitely anxious, and already racing before you even walk in the door. And this isn't just like a fleeting thing. This internal chaos becomes almost a pervasive state. And it reflects directly in how you act, right? It affects your performance. It diminishes your presence no matter what situation you're walking into.
Yeah, I can imagine trying to give a presentation when your heart's still pounding from running there, or trying to focus in a meeting when your mind is just replaying the traffic nightmare.
Precisely. There's that constant worry, that pervasive anxiety, this feeling of always being behind or hurried. And it's not just external pressure we're talking about. It's a significant physiological stress response.
Like inside your body.
Yes. Your body is reacting to that perpetual rush. It leads to elevated cortisol levels, that stress hormone. You're basically in a constant state of low-grade fight or flight. And over time, that profoundly impacts your mental and emotional state. It wears you down.
And it absolutely doesn't stop with you, does it? This internal chaos. It just ripples outward. It creates some pretty significant relational strain.
Oh, definitely. Lateness sends a very clear message, doesn't it? Often unintentional, sure, but undeniably powerful.
What message is that?
That you don't value other people's time. It just comes across as inherently rude. It's like an implicit statement that maybe your time is somehow more important or less subject to the agreements you made than theirs is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just think about it from the other side. How do you feel when you're kept waiting?
Exactly.
Especially if it happens again and again.
Exactly. Keeping others waiting, whether it's your closest family, friends you really cherish, or professional colleagues, it can severely strain those relationships. People start to anticipate your lateness. They almost begin to expect it.
And that expectation itself is damaging, right?
It is, because when expectations are consistently unmet, it unfortunately diminishes their perception of your reliability. It just chips away at trust. People start wondering, can I really count on this person in other areas too, not just for showing up on time?
It casts doubt on everything else.
It can. It can lead to this sense of disrespect, resentment, maybe feeling undervalued. And slowly, it erodes the very foundations of those vital connections. Your word, your commitments, even your genuine affection. It can all start to be seen through the lens of your tardiness.
Wow. Okay, and when we shift focus to the professional world, the consequences of chronic lateness can be, well, quite profound. Maybe even surprising to some people. What are some of the most critical areas where punctuality can really make or break a career?
Well, one of the most immediate and impactful areas is first impressions. It almost goes without saying, really, but arriving late for a job interview is, in most professional settings, just not okay.
A deal breaker for many employers, I imagine.
Absolutely. We've heard countless examples from recruiters and hiring managers who say that some employers, quite understandably, will refuse to even interview a candidate if they're just a minute or two late.
Just a minute or two. That's harsh, but I get it.
It immediately signals a lack of organization, maybe a lack of seriousness, and definitely a lack of respect for the opportunity and the interviewer's time. It's not just about politeness, it's signaling your respect for the whole system, for the people involved.
And that extends beyond just the initial interview, right? I can see it having a huge impact on initial business meetings, too.
Oh, completely. Imagine you're trying to negotiate a critical deal or maybe forge a new partnership, and the person you're meeting walks in 10 minutes late, maybe flustered, maybe unapologetic. What's your immediate gut feeling?
My trust level would plummet. I'd be wondering if they could handle the details of a complex deal if they can't even manage their arrival time.
Exactly. Would you trust them to stay organized, committed, detail-oriented throughout a potentially complex business relationship? Probably not. So a seemingly harmless bad habit can, quite literally, ruin a potential business relationship before it even gets off the ground.
So it's not just about what you know, it's about how reliable you seem, how much you respect the process.
Precisely. Your reliability, your respect for their time, it speaks volumes.
Which immediately impacts that perception of competence and reliability then. Like you said, if you're consistently late, it signals a lack of self-control.
Yeah.
It might even be seen as demonstrating incompetence, right? A failure to manage your own basic schedule.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, punctual employees are consistently seen as more dependable, more consistent, definitely more organized. They just give off this aura of professionalism and readiness that really sets them apart.
Okay, so beyond individual perception, how does chronic tardiness hit the wider workplace, like team productivity and morale?
This is a big one. Picture this. You have a team meeting set for 9 a.m. sharp. If one or two members consistently drift in at 9:05, maybe 9:0, everyone else is just sitting there waiting.
Wasting time, collectively.
Exactly. That's 10 minutes of collective lost productivity, multiplied by every single person who is on time. It completely disrupts the workflow for the entire team. And very often, it forces the punctual team members to repeatedly cover for their delayed colleagues, maybe by catching them up or delaying the start.
Which must breed resentment.
Huge tension and resentment. Those who are consistently on time can feel really undervalued, disrespected. It dampens overall morale. It makes the environment less collaborative, less efficient, simply because the team isn't working cohesively. It creates friction.
And it doesn't just stay within the team, does it? It affects the company's external image, too, and even your own leadership potential.
For sure. Every employee, in a way, is an ambassador for the organization they represent. If someone is chronically late to client meetings or consistently misses internal deadlines that affect others, it reflects poorly on the entire company.
Clients might lose confidence.
Exactly. They might decide your company just isn't reliable enough for their business. And that unfavorable reputation can spread maybe through word of mouth, leading to fewer referrals and, ultimately, less business.
And for your own career track.
Being seen as unreliable can be a massive barrier. It can prevent career advancements, stop you from being included in important, high-stakes projects, simply because nobody wants to risk putting someone on a critical path who's likely to miss a deadline or hold up the team. It makes you seem like a liability.
That's a serious blocker.
Yeah.
And what about the actual financial costs? You mentioned them earlier. Are they really that significant?
They are staggering and often hidden in plain sight. Let's just quantify this for a second. An employee who is just 10 minutes late every single day. Over the course of a year, that adds up to the equivalent of a fully paid week of vacation that the company gets absolutely no productivity from.
A full week, just from 10 minutes a day.
Yep.
5 full work days of lost productivity for which they are paying that employee's salary. Now, imagine scaling that across an organization with hundreds, maybe thousands of employees. The numbers become truly astronomical.
Do we have any wider figures on that?
Well, look at the UK economy alone. One study estimated the cost of hours lost just due to employee tardiness stacks up to a mind-boggling £9 billion annually.
9 billion pounds. That's enormous.
It's a massive hidden cost that many businesses surprisingly seem to overlook. They might just dismiss it as a minor individual quirk, but the cumulative financial impact is huge.
9 billion. That figure really brings home the sheer weight of what seems like just a personal habit, a hidden cost most businesses probably don't even fully grasp. Now, speaking of how we value time, it's worth pointing out that this intense focus on punctuality, it isn't universal, is it? We should probably touch briefly on the cultural context here. That is such a crucial point. Our industrialized society, especially in many Western countries, think North America, parts of Europe, we highly value productivity, efficiency, discipline. Our systems are built on it.
Like trains running on time, manufacturing lines.
Exactly. Precise scheduling, coordination, because everything needs to sync up. But that's quite different from some other cultures, sometimes called polychronic cultures. They often embrace much more flexible timing.
Can you give an example?
Sure. In some Latin American or Middle Eastern cultures, for instance, building relationships might actually take precedence over sticking rigidly to a schedule. Lateness might not carry the same negative weight. It might even be seen as prioritizing human connection over the clock.
So the meaning of being late changes depending on the culture.
Absolutely. This cultural difference shapes expectations and, critically, how severe the consequences for lateness are. In our typical context, though, punctuality is deeply, deeply intertwined with perceived competence, reliability, and respect. Understanding that context is key.
Okay, understanding the huge impact and, as we'll get into, the often hidden reasons behind chronic lateness. That's a massive first step. But what do we do with that knowledge? How do we actually start to shift those patterns?
Right, and that's where we need to turn our attention to the absolute bedrock of punctuality, mastering time estimation and making some foundational mindset shifts.
Where do we start with that? Mindset first.
I think so. It really all starts with a fundamental shift in perception, moving toward what you might call an early mindset.
An early mindset, meaning
Instead of aiming to be right on time or, barely squeaking it under the wire, people who are consistently punctual adopt a mindset of aiming to be early.
like that old saying, if you're not early, you're late.
Exactly. That really holds true here. Making that mental switch fundamentally transforms your entire approach to scheduling. It automatically builds in that crucial buffer against the unexpected. It turns what used to be a mad dash into a calm, controlled arrival. You're essentially giving yourself the gift of breathing room, peace of mind.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that pretty stark wisdom from the TV show The Wire. Something like, you don't ever want to be the last man to a party. Show up to a job an hour before, sometimes two.
While that might be a bit extreme for everyday life,
Definitely extreme.
it really underscores the value of proactive readiness, right? Of establishing a sense of control rather than always feeling like you're at the mercy of traffic or random delays. It's about being in command of your time, not constantly just reacting to it.
Being proactive, not reactive. I like that.
Exactly. And that sense of command leads us straight into the art and maybe the science of accurate time estimation. This is so, so crucial for consistent punctuality.
Why is it so crucial? I mean, it feels obvious, but maybe break it down.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
If you don't have a realistic idea of how long something actually takes, how can you ever plan effectively? It's like you said earlier, it feels like flying blind.
Yeah, you're just guessing, and probably guessing wrong.
Right. Accurate time estimation is the foundation for effective planning, for allocating your resources wisely, time, energy, focus for budgeting, for monitoring your progress, and for clear, honest communication with others about timelines. It's the bedrock for avoiding feeling rushed, overwhelmed, or perpetually behind schedule. Without a realistic grasp of time, you are flying blind, constantly surprised by how long things take or how quickly those minutes just disappear.
Okay, so when we're trying to get better at estimating time, what are the key factors we really need to be consciously thinking about?
There are several really critical factors to integrate. First, pretty obviously, task difficulty. More complex tasks, they just naturally demand more time. You absolutely need to break them down into smaller, more manageable pieces to estimate accurately. Don't try to estimate a huge project in one go.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, your experience level. Have you tackled something similar before? If yes, use that past data. If it's a totally new task for you, you must build in extra time specifically for the learning curve, for potential problem solving, for those inevitable unexpected hurdles.
Good point. Underestimating the learning curve is common.
Very common. Third, available resources. Be honest. Do you genuinely have everything you need? All the equipment, the software, the information, the right people available? Lacking any critical resource will inevitably slow things down.
Right. Don't assume everything will just be there.
Fourth, potential roadblocks or obstacles. This is where you actively plan for the unexpected. Think about potential technical glitches, communication delays, interruptions from colleagues or family, even just bad weather. This is precisely where that time cushion we mentioned earlier becomes absolutely critical. You have to expect the unexpected.
Assume something will go wrong.
Pretty much. And finally, deadlines and other commitments. Be brutally realistic about how much time you genuinely have available in your day or week, factoring in absolutely all your existing responsibilities and appointments. Don't pretend you have more bandwidth than you do.
That's a really solid checklist.
Yeah.
But, okay, for someone who knows they consistently underestimate time, how can they systematically get better at it? Is there like a structured approach that works?
Yes, absolutely. Here are 6 practical steps anyone can take to really refine their estimation abilities. Step 1, break down tasks. This is the first and, honestly, the most vital step. Take any complex task and divide it into the smallest, most manageable components you can. So instead of clean the kitchen, think clear counters, load dishwasher, wipe surfaces, sweep floor, mop floor. See?
Yeah, much less daunting.
Exactly. It makes estimation less overwhelming because you're not trying to guess the duration of some huge, vague task. Step 2, estimate each component. Now, assign a realistic time estimate to each of those tiny steps. Consciously think about its complexity and your actual experience doing it. For real accuracy here, I strongly recommend using a time tracking app for maybe a week or 2 just for your common routines. The data you gather will be gold.
Okay, track it first to get real data. Then what?
Step 3, sum component times. Just add up all your individual estimates. This gives you a theoretical overall task duration, basically. The absolute minimum time required if everything goes absolutely perfectly, which it rarely does.
Like the best case scenario.
Exactly. Which leads to step 4, pad the estimate. This is the crucial step that turns that theoretical, optimistic estimate into a realistic one. You always need to add extra time for unforeseen issues, interruptions, or just the natural friction of life. That general rule of thumb we talked about. Add 25% to your initial estimate.
The 25% buffer.
Yes, if a task estimate comes out to 30 minutes, plan for 40. This buffer absorbs those minor disruptions without sending your whole schedule into a panic. It's the antidote to what psychologists call the planning fallacy, our tendency to be overly optimistic about how long things take.
Okay, estimate, add the buffer. Then.
Step 5, review and adjust. After you have your padded estimate, take a critical, honest look. Ask yourself, am I still being too optimistic here? Are there any obvious bottlenecks I haven't accounted for? Could I optimize any part of this? This self-assessment is key to stopping wishful thinking from derailing your plans before you even start.
Be honest with yourself.
Brutally honest. And finally, step 6, monitor progress and learn. This is a continuous feedback loop. After you do the task, track how long it actually took versus your estimate. Where did you go wrong? What went right? Why was there a difference? This feedback is absolutely essential for improving future estimations. You're gradually training your internal clock to be much more accurate.
That 25% rule really does sound like a potential game changer for so many people. It's that buffer that saves you from the constant panic, right? That feeling of always being rushed.
It really is. It builds in resilience to the minor bumps in the road.
Now, you also mentioned a method for more complex scenarios, 3-point estimation. Can you unpack that a bit more for us?
Yeah, absolutely. The 3-point estimation method is a really powerful tool, often used in project management, but super useful personally too. It's specifically designed to account for uncertainty, which is, let's face it, inherent in most real-world tasks.
How does it work?
It moves beyond just a single guess by forcing you to consider 3 different scenarios for any given task or project. First, the optimistic O estimate. This is your absolute best case scenario. Everything goes perfectly smoothly, no hitches, no unexpected delays. It's the fastest possible time you could realistically complete it.
Okay, the dream scenario.
Pretty much. Second, the most likely M estimate. This is what you genuinely, realistically expect to happen based on your past experience and typical conditions. It's the duration you think is most probable.
The normal time.
Exactly. And third, the pessimistic P estimate. This is your worst case scenario. Here, you account for all the potential problems, major roadblocks, significant delays, maybe the scope creeps a bit. It's the longest you could reasonably anticipate the task taking if things go pretty badly.
Okay, so you come up with these three numbers.
Yeah.
Optimistic, most likely pessimistic. O, M, P. Then what do you do with them? How do you combine them into one useful estimate?
You use a specific weighted average formula. It gives more weight, more importance to the most likely scenario because that's often the most realistic anchor. The formula is estimated time, E, equals optimistic plus 4 times the most likely plus pessimistic, all divided by 6. So E equals plus 4M plus P6.
Okay. O plus 4M plus P6. Can we walk through a quick example?
Sure. Let's keep it simple. Imagine you have a personal project, maybe something like researching and planning a big family vacation. Based on a similar trip last year, you think it will most likely take you around 10 hours. That's your MM10. But if you get really focused and find all the info quickly, maybe you could knock it out in 7 hours. That's O equals 7. However, if you hit dead ends researching flights, accommodations are tricky, or you keep getting interrupted, it could realistically drag out to 16 hours. That's P equals 16.
Okay, so O7, M10, P16. Let's plug those in. 7 plus 4, 10 plus 16, 6.
Right, so that's 7 plus 40 plus 16, 6, which is 63.
63 divided by 6 is 10.5 hours.
Exactly. So your more robust, statistically sound estimate for planning this vacation is 10.5 hours. Even though your most likely guess was 10, this method nudges it up slightly by factoring in the potential for things to go wrong. It forces you to consider that full range of possibilities and gives you a much more reliable number than just picking one out of the air.
That makes a lot of sense. It builds in that crucial acknowledgement that things rarely go exactly as planned, and it helps correct for our natural tendency to be a bit too optimistic.
Precisely. It counters the planning fallacy in a structured way.
Okay, so we've got the impact, some potential whys, and the huge importance of estimation and mindset. Now, how do we actually do it? How do we build the habits? This brings us neatly to part 4, practical strategies for habit formation, the how-to toolkit.
Right. This is where we get really actionable. But first, let's quickly touch on that psychological groundwork again, just briefly. You're probably familiar with the idea of the habit loop, maybe from Charles Duhigg's work.
The cue, routine, reward cycle.
That's the one, that potent cycle. A cue or trigger, which prompts a routine, the behavior itself, which then leads to a reward that reinforces the whole loop, making you want to do it again. What's fascinating is how this exact loop can subtly lock us into patterns of tardiness.
How so? Give me an example for lateness.
Okay, think about it. Your cue for being late might be that feeling of having just enough time before you need to leave. The routine might be deciding to check just one last email or scroll social media for a minute. And the reward, maybe it's a fleeting sense of completion on that email or a tiny dopamine hit from the phone, even as it ultimately leads to the stress and anxiety of being late.
So the immediate reward of the distraction outweighs the future pain of lateness in that moment.
Often, yes. So the key is we need to consciously disrupt that specific loop and deliberately build new ones that lead to punctuality.
Makes sense. And people always want to know, how long does this actually take to form a new habit? I hear all sorts of numbers thrown around, 21 days, 30 days. Is there a magic number?
That's such a common question, and it's really important to set realistic expectations here. There is definitely no magic fixed number. It varies hugely.
Okay.
Studies show it takes, on average, about 66 days for a new behavior to start feeling automatic. But the range in those studies is enormous, anywhere from as little as 18 days for really simple habits up to a whopping 254 days for more complex ones.
Wow, 254 days. It's like 8 or 9 months.
Exactly, which really highlights the absolute need for patience and persistence. It's a gradual process, not some overnight switch. The power of repetition is absolutely key. Automaticity, that feeling where a behavior just happens without you having to think too hard about it, increases with consistent repetition, ideally in a consistent context.
So doing the new thing over and over again in the same situation.
Precisely. Old habits are so hard to break because they're literally imprinted in our neural pathways. But the good news is, new ones can form just as powerfully through deliberate, consistent practice. You're carving new pathways.
Okay, so armed with that understanding about habits, let's dive into the core strategies for punctuality. What's the first really tangible tip we can put into action?
All right, strategy 1, saying no to last-minute requests. This is a huge one and often completely overlooked. People frequently find themselves running late simply because they struggle to decline unexpected requests that pop up right when they need to be walking out the door.
Like what kind of requests?
Oh, it could be anything. Your child suddenly remembering they need help with homework right now, your partner asking you to find something they can't locate, or maybe your boss pings you with an urgent email that feels like it demands an immediate reply just as you're packing up.
Yeah, those just a second, things that are never just a second.
Exactly. The solution here is to be proactive. Set clear boundaries ahead of time. You could maybe tell people earlier, hey, just so you know, I need to leave sharply at 5 p.m. today. Or you could ask preemptively, does anyone need anything from me before I head out in 15 minutes?
Giving them a heads up.
Yes. It helps you preemptively shut down those common schedule disruptors before they even get a chance to derail you. It's about protecting that departure time.
That's simple but incredibly powerful. Those just-a-minute things really do add up.
Okay,
what's strategy number 2?
Strategy 2. Analyze and accurately track task times. Now, this goes a step beyond just estimation. This is about actively measuring how long your routine tasks actually take in the real world.
Like timing yourself.
Exactly. So many of us drastically underestimate basic everyday routines, especially the morning shuffle. Getting dressed, brushing teeth, making coffee, packing a lunch, checking messages. These things often take significantly longer than our gut feeling tells us.
I bet they do.
So the exercise is, dedicate 1 full week to meticulously tracking every minute of, say, your morning routine, or maybe your commute prep, or any other recurring sequence you tend to underestimate. Use the timer on your phone, or just a simple notepad. Log the true duration of each step.
And what will that achieve?
You will likely be genuinely surprised, maybe even shocked, by how much time those quick things actually consume. And that hard data, that's gold. It becomes the foundation for much more accurate future planning and scheduling. You stop guessing and start knowing.
Okay, track the reality. And this ties into our earlier chat about buffers, right? Which is strategy 3, create a generous time cushion.
This is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to be consistently punctual. The reality is, unexpected stuff will happen. You'll spill coffee on your shirt. There'll be a surprise traffic jam. A sudden downpour slows everything down.
Yeah.
Your kid's school calls. Life throws curveballs constantly.
It certainly does.
Punctual people don't just allocate enough time, they allocate additional generous time. They plan for the unexpected. And that rule of thumb we keep mentioning, always add at least 25% to your time estimate for any activity or travel segment.
So if getting ready takes 40 minutes according to your tracking, plan for 50.
Precisely. If the drive usually takes 20 minutes, allocate 25. This buffer acts like a shock absorber for your schedule. It effortlessly soaks up those minor disruptions without throwing your entire day into chaos or sending your stress levels through the roof. It literally buys you peace of mind.
Peace of mind is a great reward. Okay, what about using clocks themselves more effectively? Strategy 4, leverage clocks and wear a watch.
It sounds almost insultingly basic, I know, but research consistently shows that people who check the clock more frequently are more likely to be punctual.
Really? Just checking more often helps?
It seems so. Studies have even found, for instance, that younger people tend to check the clock more often as a target time gets closer. And this habit correlates strongly with arriving on time. The takeaway: don't just rely on your internal feel for how long a few minutes is. Our internal clocks are notoriously unreliable. Check an actual clock.
And you mentioned wearing a watch specifically. Why a watch, not just a phone?
Well, partly practicality. It's quicker and less distracting to glance at your wrist than pull out your phone, unlock it, and potentially get sucked into notifications. But there's also this interesting psychological phenomenon called enclothed cognition.
Enclothed cognition?
Right.
What's that?
It's the idea that the clothes we wear can actually influence our thoughts and behavior. So just like putting on a doctor's coat might make someone feel more careful and attentive.
Putting on a watch makes you more time conscious.
Exactly. It doesn't just tell you the time. It subtly primes your brain to be more mindful of time. It signals to your subconscious that punctuality matters to you. It reinforces that time awareness.
Huh. Interesting psychological angle. Now, for people who are really chronically late, I've heard about this trick of setting clocks ahead. Does that actually work?
It can be a useful psychological hack for some, yes. The key is to set your clocks ahead by varied amounts. Don't just set everything 5 minutes fast, because your brain will quickly learn to just subtract 5 minutes.
So make it inconsistent.
Right. Maybe your bedroom alarm is 7 minutes fast. Your car clock is 3 minutes fast. The kitchen clock is 5 minutes fast. This keeps your brain guessing a bit and prevents it from easily calculating the real time. It just subtly nudges you earlier. There are even apps, like the procrastinator's clock, that set themselves ahead by random increments each day.
That's genuinely clever. Okay, next strategy, number 5. Underschedule yourself. Be realistic, not overly optimistic.
This hits at a core issue for many latecomers. People who are constantly late often tend to overestimate their own capacity. They try to cram far more into a day or a week than is humanly possible. They're overly optimistic about what they can achieve.
The classic overcommitment problem.
Exactly. So the strategy here is actually counterintuitive for high achievers. Consciously reduce the number of time-contingent tasks, deadlines, and appointments you take on. Be more selective.
They know more often.
Yes. Practice delegating tasks where you can. And learn to say a polite but firm no to non-essential projects or commitments that would stretch you too thin. The goal here is to give yourself breathing room, to allow yourself to actually get the hang of being on time with a manageable schedule. Make it feel achievable, not like a constant, frantic race you're doomed to lose. It's about building consistent small wins and boosting your confidence.
Reduce the load to increase the success rate. Makes sense. Okay, this next one. This hits home for a lot of us, I think. Strategy 6. Combat just one more thing. Syndrome.
Oh, the siren song of just one more thing. It's such a common and insidious pitfall. You're literally about to leave, keys in hand, coat on, and then you notice one last thing.
Like watering that slightly droopy plant.
Or answering the phone that starts ringing right then. Or firing off just one more quick email, or tidying that little pile of papers on the desk, and suddenly those just one more minutes mysteriously evaporate, and bam, you're running late again.
It's like a magnetic pull. How do you fight it?
There's a great strategy called the SWEET strategy. It stands for Stop Working on Everything Else Time.
Sweet time. I like it. How does it work?
You calculate your personal sweet by figuring out the exact moment you need to stop whatever task you're currently doing and start your transition to leave. This calculation needs to include enough time for that next set of actions, like gathering your bag, putting on shoes and coat, walking to the car or bus stop.
Okay, so you work backwards from your departure time.
Exactly. And then you set a dedicated, non-negotiable alarm for this precise sweet time. Think of it as your tools down alarm.
A tools down alarm. Love that framing.
And critically, also set a warning alarm maybe 10, 15, even 30 minutes before your sweet alarm. This warning prompts you to start consciously wrapping things up, finishing critical steps, and only engaging in tasks that are easily droppable when the final alarm goes off.
So you're preparing for the hard stop.
Yes. Because the discipline here is paramount. When that final leave time or sweet alarm arrives, you stop immediately. No negotiating. You grab your things and you physically walk out the door. Even if you feel that incredibly powerful urge for just one more task, or you see a tempting notification pop up, you ignore it. If it's truly important, make a quick note to handle it later. But your absolute priority at that moment is to exit. It's about establishing a hard stop that you absolutely, unequivocally honor.
That sounds like it requires some serious, almost ruthless self-discipline at first.
It does initially, yes, but it gets easier as it becomes a habit.
Okay. Now, what about the sheer volume of things on our plates?
Yeah.
Those ever-growing to-do lists that often feel completely overwhelming and seem to set us up for failure. Which brings us to strategy 7. Be brutal with your to-do list. Prioritize relentlessly.
An unrealistic, overstuffed schedule is just a guaranteed recipe for feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and constantly running late. The Eisenhower Matrix is a classic, fantastic tool for tackling this. It helps you categorize every task based on 2 simple dimensions: urgency and importance.
Right, the urgent important matrix, quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly. You probably know the structure, but the real power for boosting punctuality lies in its ruthless, honest application. Let's quickly recap.
To do. These are tasks that are both urgent and important. They demand immediate attention, have clear negative consequences if not done soon, and are usually directly aligned with your key goals. Focus your primary energy here.
The fires that need putting out and the big rocks.
Pretty much. Quadrant 2, schedule. These are important, but not urgent. These are crucial for your long-term goals, growth, and prevention of future crises, but they don't need to be done right now. You must deliberately schedule time for these later, protecting that time so they actually happen. This is where strategic work lives.
Planning, relationship building, learning.
Exactly. Quadrant 3, delegate. These tasks are urgent, but not important, at least, not important for you to do personally. They might need doing now, but they don't require your specific skills or expertise. Learn to delegate these effectively to others who can handle them. This frees you up for quadrant 1 and 2.
The interruptions that feel urgent but don't move your goals forward.
Precisely. And finally, the crucial one for our purposes. Quadrant 4, delete. These tasks are not urgent and not important. This is where the real time saving happens for punctuality. These are often distractions, time-wasting activities, busy work, procrastinator habits, or work about work that adds absolutely no real value. You have to be brutal here. Eliminate these items from your list, your schedule, your life entirely. Just get rid of them.
So it's really emphasizing cutting out the noise, the unnecessary stuff, rather than just shuffling everything around. Any specific tips for using this matrix effectively to really boost punctuality?
Absolutely. A few quick tips. Try color-coding your tasks within the matrix. It helps visualize priorities instantly. Also, try to limit the number of items to maybe 8-10 per quadrant max, just to avoid overwhelm. If a quadrant gets too full, break those tasks down further or reconsider their importance urgency.
Keep it manageable.
Yes. You can also create separate matrices for your personal life and your professional tasks to keep things distinct and clear. But probably the most impactful advice specifically for improving punctuality is this. Practice eliminate, then prioritize. Address quadrant 4, delete, first. Actively get rid of all the noise, the clutter, the unnecessary commitments before you even start organizing the rest. This immediately frees up both mental bandwidth and actual minutes or hours in your schedule.
Eliminate first. That's powerful. If it's not important or urgent, it shouldn't even be on your radar. Simple, but so effective. Okay, what's the next strategy for setting ourselves up for success, particularly for smooth departures?
Strategy 8, the night before preparation ritual. This is another one that sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but it's incredibly effective at reducing morning stress and ensuring on-time departures. Develop a consistent evening routine where you prepare absolutely everything you need for the next day.
Like laying out clothes.
Yes, lay out your clothes. Pack your bag, work bag, gym bag, whatever, with all documents, keys, wallet, phone, chargers, anything essential. Prepare your lunch if you take one. Organize materials for work or school. Anything you can do tonight saves you precious time and mental energy tomorrow morning.
What's the main benefit?
It eliminates that frantic morning scramble, those desperate searches for misplaced keys or forgotten permission slips. It drastically reduces decision fatigue. Right when you wake up, you don't have to think about what to wear or pack, you just execute. It dramatically increases your morning efficiency and, just as importantly, creates a much calmer, more deliberate, less stressful start to your day.
I can personally vouch for that one. It makes mornings infinitely calmer. Okay, then we have strategy 9, strategic scheduling. This is about the calendar itself.
Yes. Beyond just preparing for individual tasks, think strategically about how you lay out your entire day or week on your calendar. For instance, try to schedule your most important meetings or your most mentally demanding tasks early in the day when your focus and energy levels are generally at their peak.
Get the big stuff done first.
Often a good idea. And crucially for punctuality, leave deliberate gaps between appointments. Do not schedule things back to back to back. This builds in contingency time and prevents a single delay early in the day from cascading and derailing everything that follows, like a row of dominoes.
Build in buffer time between things too.
Absolutely. And block out realistic travel or transition times between tasks and locations. Don't just assume travel time is 0 or that you can instantly switch your brain from one complex task to the next without needing a minute to reset and refocus. Be realistic about those transitions.
Good point. Transition time is real time. Now, adding to our recurring theme of alarms, which seems quite central, strategy 10, get out the door alarms.
Yes, this is another potential game changer, especially for people who struggle with that specific transition from doing stuff to actually leaving the building.
Yeah.
Beyond just your wake-up alarm, set specific non-negotiable alarms for the exact time you need to physically leave for your next appointment or commitment.
Like the sweet alarm, but maybe even more direct.
Exactly. This is your ultimate, okay, no more messing around, it's time to go now alarm. It prompts immediate action. For anyone easily distracted or prone to that seductive, just one more thing syndrome right at the end, this external cue is incredibly powerful because it acts as an unyielding objective boundary.
It overrides your internal negotiation.
Precisely. It forces you to stop whatever you're doing, gather your belongings, and walk out the door, even if it feels a bit abrupt or uncomfortable in that first moment.
Okay, so that leads us to the ultimate goal, the final discipline, strategy 11. Leave on time, every time.
This is really the absolute core discipline it all builds towards. You need to master the art of reverse engineering your departure time to ensure you arrive at your destination early, building in that buffer.
So work backwards from the arrival time you want.
Exactly. Let's say you need to be at a meeting that starts at 10:20 a.m. You've decided wisely that you want to arrive 10 minutes early to settle in, maybe grab water, be calm. So 10:10 a.m. is your real deadline for being physically at the destination.
Okay, 10:10 a.m. arrival.
Now work backward from that. If the travel time, including parking or walking from the station, realistically takes 20 minutes, based on your tracking and adding buffer, then your absolute non-negotiable departure time from your home or office needs to be 9:50 a.m. sharp.
9:50 a.m. is the leave time.
Yes. And this requires that unwavering self-discipline we talked about. To stop what you're doing, gather your things, and physically walk out the door at precisely 9:50 a.m., ignoring any last-minute distractions, temptations, or phone calls. It's about honoring that commitment you made to yourself, to your schedule, and ultimately to the person waiting for you. It's respecting the clock and the commitment.
So it really comes down to making that commitment to yourself, calculating the time ruthlessly, and then following through with absolute discipline.
Wow.
That's a seriously powerful toolkit for getting yourself on track. Now, how do we make sure this actually sticks? How do we sustain it? This brings us to part 5, sustaining punctuality and fostering deeper self-awareness.
Right, because starting is one thing, sustaining is another. And this goes directly back to some of those psychological roots we touched on earlier, particularly for people who might unconsciously like the rush of a deadline. We need to actively address and consciously break the rush addiction.
The adrenaline junkies of lateness.
Kind of. If you recognize that pattern in yourself, consistently delaying until the very last minute, feeling most alive when racing against time, then you need to consciously practice calming techniques when you feel that urge to delay. Maybe deep breathing, maybe a quick mindfulness exercise.
Why? What does that do?
It directly targets that underlying stimulation-seeking behavior. It helps you learn to find a different kind of satisfaction, the calm satisfaction of preparedness, the control that comes from being early rather than relying on those adrenaline spikes from last-minute heroics. It's about actively rewiring your brain's reward system.
Finding calm rewarding instead of chaos. Interesting. And sometimes maybe we need a sharper reminder of what's truly at stake. You mentioned we should remind ourselves of the consequences.
Yes, using negative reinforcement strategically, but importantly, gently. This isn't about beating yourself up or wallowing in guilt. It's about clarity. Consciously, deliberately recall the full spectrum of negative consequences that come from your lateness.
Like what specifically?
Think about the poor perception others might have of you, the very real strain on your most important relationships, the impact on your work performance or career prospects, the erosion of trust, and also the internal stress and anxiety you feel when you're always rushing. Visualizing those uncomfortable outcomes and truly feeling their impact can be a surprisingly powerful deterrent and a consistent motivator for putting in the effort to change.
So it's not about dwelling on the negative, but using it as fuel for positive action.
Exactly. It's about understanding the real costs, clearly.
Okay. And crucially, for any long-term change, you absolutely have to hold yourself accountable.
This is completely non-negotiable for making any change stick. You need systems for self-monitoring. Regularly reflect on your progress. Maybe at the end of each week, ask yourself, how did I do with punctuality this week compared to last week? Where did I succeed? Where did I slip up? And why?
How can you track that?
You could do it through journaling, using a simple habit tracker app on your phone, or even by sharing your specific punctuality goals with a trusted friend, partner, or mentor who can provide supportive accountability, just checking in gently now and then. The core idea is to create a system where you are actively aware of your successes and your slips. This allows you to learn, adjust your strategies, and prevent yourself from just falling back into old unconscious patterns. Awareness is key.
That connects beautifully back to our earlier discussion on the habit loop, doesn't it? The idea of replacing bad habits with good ones.
Precisely. Instead of just trying to stop being late, which can feel abstract, like trying to eliminate a void, you need to focus on actively replacing the old problematic routine with a new punctual routine.
Give me an example of that replacement.
Okay, so the old routine might be cue, feeling enough time, routine, getting distracted by phone, reward, fleeting dopamine hit, consequence, lateness. The new routine needs to use the same cue, or an earlier one like a warning alarm, but insert a different routine. Cue, warning alarm goes off, routine. Finish current sentence task, check leaving checklist, grab bag, put on shoes, walk out when leave alarm sounds, reward, feeling calm, prepared, arriving early, feeling proud.
So you're hijacking the loop with a better routine.
You're consciously installing a new, more beneficial routine. And it's important to remember that the basal ganglia, that part of your brain deeply involved in habit formation, it remembers triggers and rewards very strongly. So even once you've built a new habit, if those old cues reappear in a moment of stress or distraction, the old habit can easily try to resurface. This just reinforces the need for consistent, ongoing practice of the new routines to keep those new neural pathways strong and dominant.
It requires vigilance even once you feel you've cracked it.
Definitely. Habits need maintenance.
Now, the idea of keystone habits is really fascinating in this context. Could punctuality itself be one of those, like a gateway habit to broader positive change?
Absolutely. I strongly believe it can be. Punctuality can absolutely function as a keystone habit. That's a term for a core habit that, once you establish it, seems to naturally trigger a cascade of other positive changes and habits across different areas of your life, often without you even consciously planning it.
How might that work with punctuality?
Well, think about it. Becoming consistently punctual requires developing skills like better planning, improved organization, greater self-discipline, enhanced self-awareness, and more respect for commitments. As you strengthen these muscles for the sake of being on time, those same skills naturally start to spill over. You might find yourself becoming more organized in general, better at managing all your time, perhaps even more consistent with exercise or other self-care routines, because it all stems from that fundamental commitment to personal discipline and self-respect that punctuality embodies.
So mastering this one area builds skills that benefit everything else.
Exactly. It can be a truly foundational shift that ripples outwards, fostering a much greater sense of inner calm, control, and overall competence in your life.
Now, towards the end of our research, I came across a really interesting, almost provocative counterpoint, a sort of different perspective on punctuality that challenges some of our traditional workplace assumptions.
Yes, it's a really vital nuance to consider, especially in today's evolving work landscape. While strict punctuality is undeniably prized in many traditional, especially industrialized or service-based settings, some researchers and thought leaders are starting to argue something different for other contexts.
What are they arguing?
They suggest that in modern work environments that are less about manual labor and more about creativity, deep analysis, or complex problem solving, while sometimes employees who are occasionally late to work might actually appear to be more productive and creative ones.
Whoa, okay. That is controversial. How could lateness possibly correlate with more productivity or creativity?
Well, the argument isn't necessarily that lateness causes creativity. It might be correlational. Perhaps people who are deeply engrossed in a creative flow state lose track of time. Or maybe individuals who operate on less conventional schedules naturally gravitate towards more creative roles. It prompts a fascinating question, though. Is strict, rigid adherence to the clock always the ultimate measure of value, especially in fields that thrive on deep work, sudden insights, or flexible thinking? Or could a certain degree of flexibility sometimes foster different, perhaps even more valuable, types of output?
That's a perspective that really challenges the time is money dogma, reminding us that context matters hugely. So if that might be the case in some situations, how could management use that insight? Could it change how they deal with tardiness?
Potentially, yes. This leads directly to the idea of flexible work schedules as a more sophisticated managerial tool, rather than just imposing rigid rules and penalties for everyone.
How would that help with tardiness?
By allowing employees more autonomy to better align their work commitments with their genuine daily life duties, things like school runs, elder care, personal appointments, or even just acknowledging that some people are naturally night owls and others are early birds with different peak productivity times, it can foster greater mutual respect and understanding.
So it acknowledges reality more.
Exactly. It acknowledges that life is complex and not everyone fits neatly into a 9-to-5 box. By reducing the unnecessary stress that comes from trying to force everyone into a rigid schedule, a more flexible approach can potentially improve overall output, boost job satisfaction and loyalty, and actually reduce chronic tardiness that stems from genuine life conflicts rather than disrespect or disorganization. It becomes about managing contribution and output, not just clock watching.
Managing results, not just attendance. a much more modern approach for certain roles.
Okay, and finally, a really critical point. When might someone need to seek professional support if they're really struggling with punctuality? Because listening to all this, it sounds like it can sometimes be much, much deeper than just not trying hard enough or needing a better alarm clock.
You are absolutely right to emphasize that. If punctuality issues are deeply ingrained, if they feel chronic and seem completely insurmountable despite your absolute best efforts using all these strategies we've discussed, it is crucial to consider that they might be linked to underlying psychological factors.
Like what kind of factors?
Well, conditions like ADHD, for example, which often involves what's called time blindness, a genuine neurological difficulty in perceiving, tracking, and managing the passage of time accurately. Or it could be linked to pervasive anxiety, which might manifest as avoidance of certain situations, or even panic attacks related to travel or appointments, leading to delays.
Depression, too, I imagine. Definitely. Depression often saps energy, motivation, and executive function, making even simple tasks like getting out the door feel overwhelming. Less commonly, but possibly, some individuals might subconsciously play a power game by making others wait, deriving a false sense of control. Or deep-seated self-esteem issues can hinder engaging in positive actions, including getting places on time.
So if these strategies aren't enough, it might be a sign of something else going on.
Exactly. And in those cases, seeking professional help, talking to a therapist, a counselor, or a doctor is absolutely the right step. They can help clarify the root causes, provide personalized strategies tailored to your specific situation, like cognitive behavioral therapy for anxiety or ADHD coaching, and offer a clear, supportive path towards lasting change and improved overall mental well-being. It is not a sign of weakness to seek help. It's a proactive, intelligent step towards greater health, happiness, and effectiveness in your life.
That's such an important point to end on. Thank you. What an incredible, comprehensive deep dive we've had today. We've really journeyed through the intricate landscape of punctuality, haven't we? Revealing that it's just so much more than simply being on time.
It really is. It's this complex interplay of our personal psychology, how we show respect for other people, our sense of professional integrity, and, of course, effective time management skills. It touches so many parts of our lives.
We've definitely seen how chronic lateness carries these significant, often hidden costs, from that relentless personal stress and the real strain it puts on relationships, all the way to tangible impacts on your career trajectory and even the morale of entire teams.
But crucially, we've also illuminated some of the diverse psychological roots behind chronic tardiness, everything from anxiety proneness to perfectionism to being an overachiever, offering that self-understanding, hopefully, as the absolutely crucial first step towards making real change. Because you can't fix a problem if you don't understand its cause.
Absolutely. And we've equipped you, our listeners, with a really robust, actionable toolkit of strategies. Mastering the art and science of realistic time estimation, adopting that proactive, be early mindset, leveraging alarms and technology in smart ways, being truly ruthless with prioritizing your to-do list, and fundamentally understanding the profound power of habit formation itself.
Ultimately, we hope it's clear that building habits for being consistently on time isn't just about efficiency. It's really an act of profound self-respect. And it's an unmistakable demonstration of respect for the world and the people around you. It's a skill, remember, that not some inherent trait you either have or don't have.
A skill that can be learned.
Exactly. And it's one that is built entirely through conscious effort, dedicated self-awareness, and consistent, persistent practice. By mastering punctuality, you not only reclaim genuine control of your own time, but you powerfully demonstrate your value and reliability to others. And perhaps most importantly, you unlock a greater sense of peace, professionalism, and inner calm in every single aspect of your life.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider this. If punctuality is such a clear outward reflection of how we truly value time, both our own irreplaceable time and the invaluable time of others, what might a truly punctual life look like if we consciously applied that exact same level of respect, precision, and mindful commitment to every other promise we make, to ourselves and to the world?
What new opportunities might open up? What deeper, more trusting connections could be forged? What profound sense of inner calm and control might truly become available to you if punctuality shifted from just being a set of habits and instead became a foundational philosophy for how you choose to live your life?
Something to definitely ponder.
Join us next time on The Deep Dive as we explore another fascinating topic, helping you become even more well-informed and equipped to navigate life's challenges. Until then, keep digging deeper, keep asking questions, and keep making every moment count.